everyone, I hope y'all are having a great day. Today I want to talk about two contemporary books that I've read kind of recently, I guess like since the year started, that I thought were so delightful and that had so many great things going on for them that I feel like people aren't talking about on Booktube. And those books are This Time Will Be Different by Misa Sugiura and Foolish Hearts by Emma Mills. These are both YA contemporary books and I think they're so lovely. I think they're so well written and they're doing a lot of great things, and when I tried to look them up on Booktube to see if people were talking about them, I found very few results, which is really disappointing. Like, it makes me really sad to think like one day I might write something that I'm really proud of and put it out into the world and nobody's reading it and nobody's talking about it. So I'm talking about these books today because I think they're fantastic and I feel like more people should know about them and more people should read them. So first I want to talk about This Time Will Be Different by Misa Sugiura. So this one, I just think that it's not a flawless book, to be fair. There are definitely some gripes I had with it, but overall I'm just so impressed by the amount of things that it wants to talk about and that it wants to tackle. And at the crux of the story is CJ and her Japanese American history. So what this book is about is a teenage girl named CJ, and she has like this flower shop that has been kept in her family for ages, and her aunt runs it, and her mom is like some corporate businesswoman lady. I've forgotten what she does. Financial something, whatever. Clearly I don't know a lot about that stuff. But anyway, CJ is like learning the ropes at this flower shop of flower magic, which is this idea that giving someone a certain flower will provide them with something that they've been needing. So like one flower might represent luck, and another flower might represent like romance, and one might represent confidence. So you can like bundle flowers together and give them to someone, and that person should gain these new feelings or skills because they have the flowers with them. So CJ and her aunt are working at this flower shop, but this flower shop has been losing money for a really long time, and her mom, who's like a very business-minded kind of person, decides she wants to sell it, and CJ is so upset about it because this flower shop has so much familial and cultural history. And what's really painful about this idea of selling the flower shop is that CJ's mom wants to sell it back to the exact white family that is responsible for swindling CJ's grandparents during the World War II time in which Japanese Americans were sent to internment camps. So CJ's ancestry has been in the United States for a while, so they were here during World War II, in which they basically had all their stuff taken away from them and they had to move into these internment camps, and they were treated like dirt. And the one wealthy white family in the city that kind of like owns a lot of stuff and also is the one that just made like a really horrible bargain with CJ's grandparents is also the family that CJ's mom is working for. So like there's this huge grappling of history and like what to do when maybe your best interests are in conflict with your moral interests. And it really blew my mind how masterfully Misa Sugiura could integrate the history of these Japanese American internment camps into like this modern contemporary story. There's just so much richness in this YA story. It is more than just, you know, like a contemporary romance. It has so much to do with family and cultural history and the value of something that's been in your family for generations. Every character is written with such complexity. I think CJ, the main character, you know, she's a little annoying, and that's okay because she learns to be better. There's also great LGBT plus representation in this book. There's like a queer prom that happens. There's also this really bold discussion on allyship and like what it means to use your power to empower others and what it means when you're taking that way too far and you're making it more about yourself. So this book really tackles so many salient issues. And it does so while also being very funny and very realistic. And I feel like this is very similar to a book that I actually would write. And so it makes me really sad to see that not many people are talking about it because I think it's so excellent and I think it's so well done. And I love that it's touching on so many things. It's almost like it's using literary fiction themes or like ethnic fiction themes, which is such a stupid term, in a YA setting and making it so accessible to younger readers. And it's doing so many things well, and I just am so frustrated that it's not more popular than it is. Just the way this book explores themes like identity and justice and activism and what it means to do those things. I thought it was so excellently done. And I really enjoyed reading this book. There are lots of fun things like friend drama and romantic drama and like all, you know, the typical YA stuff that makes it so much fun to read. But really at its core, I would say it's about trying to preserve your cultural history in a world that's trying so hard to erase it. So please wake up. Please stop sleeping on this book. I think it's so good. Okay, moving on to Foolish Hearts by Emma Mills. Emma Mills is definitely a more recognizable author than Misa Sugiura. So Emma Mills has written a handful of contemporary books, and for some reason I've never picked them up. up. I think they all have really, really gorgeous covers, and I've always been interested in reading them, but I've for some reason never done it. But I stumbled across this one in particular because I was reading a blog post and the blogger listed 10 books that had like defined or shaped their life. And they gave this book a lot of high praise, and so I was like, I should check it out. So I did, and I'm really glad I did. I don't know if all Emma Mills books are this much fun, but this one was honestly an absolute joy to read. Like, I would read late into the night. I think I finished this book in 2 nights. Like, one night I slept at like 3 a.m. and the other one I slept at like 2 a.m., which is like weird. I hate sleeping late. But for this book, I was like so excited to keep reading that I would just lose track of time. But yeah, this book is definitely more known, I think, than This Time Will Be Different. It has like 6 times or 7 times the number of Goodreads ratings. But if you don't know, this book is about a girl named Claudia who overhears the breakup between like the it couple of her school, Paige and Iris. And Iris really resents Claudia for overhearing this, you know, very vulnerable and emotional moment. But then the two of them are paired for an English assignment, and like things get messed up and they end up having to audition for a production of A Midsummer's Night Dream. So from there, the story takes off. You learn about this entirely new cast of characters. And I wouldn't say that there's like a main plot to this book. I feel like I can't say, you know, it's about a girl who gets a to-do list and has to knock him out in order to find her best friend, or it's not about a girl who lets her obsession with fan fiction overtake her academics in her first semester of college. Like, I'm not really sure what the log line of this book would really be, but I think it's just so much fun getting to know these characters. It's such a geeky book. Like, our main characters are really obsessed with like this video game or this online game. It's like a massive multiplayer online role-playing game or whatever. And you like learn a lot about that game. It was a little strange for me because I know nothing about that stuff and I'm not particularly interested in it, but it's like very evident that the characters are really, really into it. And then Iris is obsessed with this boy band called This Is Our Now, and it's very like One Direction-esque, where she has like cardboard cutouts and like her walls are like basically wallpapered with like magazine cutouts and album covers and stuff like that. So it delves into like a lot of really geeky territory, you know, like fangirling in video games. And maybe that's why I thought this book was kind of like Fangirl Light, where it's like not super similar, but I could see some parallels. Like, I think the love interest Gideon is so much like Levi in their like disposition and their attitudes. It's very much like, oh, if you're treating everyone this way with this much kindness and enthusiasm, like, how do I know that it's different when you're with me? Claudia's best friend Zoe is kind of like Ren sometimes, where she was like, hey, you should like make your own friends without me. But yeah, honestly, I'm not really sure what the plot is. I don't really know how to pitch it other than the fact that I think it's such a delightful story about friendship. I think every form of friendship is depicted so well. I think the ones that have been lasting forever versus like the new ones where you get somebody new to open up to you, it's all so realistically depicted. And I also think the dialogue is really funny. I think there are some really quippy lines, especially from Gideon. I think he's a very witty guy. Foolish Hearts, it's so goofy and warm and fun, and like it's such a feel-good book. And I feel like that's also really important during this stressful time. Like, if you need something that's gonna brighten your mood, I feel like Foolish Hearts is definitely something to pick up. This book, similar to This Time Will Be Different, also has really great LGBT plus representation. I just think there's so much great stuff going on in this book and that everyone should experience it. And you can also definitely tell while reading that Emma Mills has such an accurate like pulse or gauge on youth culture and what it is like to be obsessed with things and what it is like to be a part of a fandom, and you know what it's like just being in high school and being like a teenager. So I think that's all I have to say about Foolish Hearts and This Time Will Be Different. I think these books are so great. I think they're so great. It makes me so sad that I don't see that many people talking about them. I definitely want to check out more of these authors' books soon. If you've read anything else by them, please let me know. Also, if you hadn't heard of any of these books before this video, I would love to know that too. It would make me feel like I'm doing something in my attempt to like put these books on people's radars, because they're really great works of fiction. Thanks so much for watching. I hope y'all have a fantastic day and happy reading. Bye.